Right, moving on to question 11. So find the coordinates. Oh gosh, let's bring that back. Didn't want that. There we go. Find the coordinates of the midpoint of PQ. Probably the most straightforward way to do this is to join a line for PQ. And then if we look, so the distance between those two would be minus 0.5, and the distance between those two would be 1. So we're looking at minus 0.5 or 1. And that's it for that page. Right, that was fairly quick. Question 11 then, M1 for finding the midpoint and then correct answer. So that's my method and that's my answer. Nice and straightforward. Right, question, wrong scroll. Question 12. Here are two triangles on the grid. Triangle B is an enlargement of triangle A. Write down the scale factor of the enlargement. So if I pick a side to look at, so I'm going to look at that side, that is 3, and it's gone to being 6. So we're doing A to B. So we're going A to B, so it's a scale factor of 2. On a grid, mark the center of enlargement. So the center of enlargement is found by joining up 2 matching points and extending the line. So my ruler on the screen is not particularly great, but there we go. There's one line, then those 2 points, and then check with the third. There we go. So mark with a cross. So actually, I'll change color for that. So that's going to be the center of enlargement. Okay, here are 2 parallelograms. Parallelogram is a reflection of parallelogram C. On the grid, draw the mirror line. So likewise, I'm going to pick similar points. So I'm going to start with this 2 and I'll check it with another. So we've got, that would need to be the center. That's halfway between those, and we'll do the same there. So we've got 3 perpendicular squares, so there. And for all points if we wanted to, but I'm fairly confident with what we found. So that's going to be my line of enlargement. Line of reflection. Write down the equation of this line. So if we look, it's going to be 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. So it is the line y is equal to x. X is equal to y would also be fine, I would assume. And is that it for the page? It is. So the mark scheme for that states scale factor of 2, 1 mark. The line drawn, sorry, the center of enlargement correctly placed. So that's there. For this part, for the next part, correct line, and then the equation of y is equal to x for the final mark. Okay then, question 13. Work out, leaving your answer as a mixed number. So we've got 2 methods for this. My preferred, and then the pretty more common one. So I like to treat them as numbers and fractions. So my number part would be 1 plus 2, or start out as 1 plus 2, and my fraction part would be 3 over 5 plus 1 over 4. So my number part starts out as 3. We might be needing to add to that in a moment, but we'll find out. So the lowest common multiple, we can only add fractions where they have the same denominator. So we're going to put them both over 20. So I would need to times the first fraction by 4, so that would become 12. And I need to times the second fraction by 5, so that would become 5. So we're looking at 3 and 17 out of 20. 3 and 17 out of 20. The second method then, so we could have, do it up here. The second method is to convert them both to being improper fractions. So the first one would be 1 times 5 is 5, plus 3 is 8, so 8 over 5. And we would need to add on 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9 over 4. Then I convert them both to being fractions over 20. So 8 times by 4 is 32. 9 times by 5 is 45. Add them together then would give me, I'm running out of space. I'll move it up here. So that would give me 77 out of 20. 20 goes into 77 fully 3 times with 17 left over. So we get the same answer. Right, question 2, show that. So I'm going to start with this side and I'm going to make it equal to this, or hope that it ends up equal to this. So 2 and 2/3 as an improper fraction would be 2 times 3 is 6, plus it would be 8 over 3. And just for now, I'm going to write 6 as 6 over 1. The most straightforward way of doing this then is to treat, whenever we divide by a fraction, it has the equivalent effect of multiplying by the reciprocal. For ease, I'm going to cancel diagonally by a factor of 4. By a factor of 2, 4 and 3. So that would give me 4 over 9, which is what we were asked to show. Write down the value of sine 30. So if you can't remember sine 30, it's found by looking at, in effect, an equilateral triangle. That would have been, let's say 2, 2 and 2. What we do is we drop that would be a 60-degree angle. So we drop all 3 angles would be 60. We drop a perpendicular. That length is now 1, and then that would be a 30-degree angle. And this length here would be, let me just take that and that out. So that would be 2 squared minus 1 squared. That would be √3. So sine is equal to the opposite divided by the hypotenuse. So in this case, sine 30 would be equal to the opposite, which is 1, over the hypotenuse, which is 2. So the value of sine 30 would be a half. And that's it for that page. So if we look at the mark scheme, so question 13. So question 13, where are we? There we go. Right. We have got M1, mark for the method, mark for the answer, or mark for the method and mark for the answer. Let's put a line just to show the different methods. Right, part B. We have got M1 for method to find it as an improper fraction, so I'll get my mark there. Let's go green, and then 1 mark for the show. And then for question 14, just 1 mark for the correct answer. Right, question 15 then. Centimeters show the plan and front elevation of a cylinder. Work out the volume of the cylinder. So the volume of the cylinder is going to be equal to the area of the circle, which would be pi r squared, times by the height of the cylinder, which would be, we'll come back to that in a second, times by the height. So we might get the height and the width confused on this cylinder, but we can work it out from the circle. So the radius of that circle is going to be center to 3. So 9 times by 3 squared times by the height. Well, the radius has a width, the diameter of the circle is 6. So this is the width of the cylinder and this is the height of the cylinder. So 2, 4, 5. So 2, 4, 5. So times by 5. So we're looking at 9 times by 5 times by pi. So in this case, 45 times by pi. So giving your answer in terms of pi. So we're looking at 45 pi. Right. And that's it for that page. Let's look for the marks then. We get 1 method mark for working at the area of that. So that's 1 mark for full method to find the volume of the cylinder, and then 1 mark for the answer. Okay. Question 16. Here is a quadrilateral. All measurements are in centimeters. The perimeter is 52. Work out the length of DC. Okay, I'm going to underline that because I will struggle. Well, not struggle, but making sure that I remember that. Right, so the perimeter is going to be, well, A to B is x plus 1, B to C is x minus 1, C to D is 2x, and then D to A is 2x minus 5, and that totals 52. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6x. My numbers, those two numbers cancel. So 6x minus 5 is equal to 52. Right. So I'm going to add 5 on both sides. So that will give me 6. 6x is equal to 57. And I'm just going to take a slight shortcut here. I only want 2x. I don't need to find x. That's what I said, work out the length of DC. So all I'm going to do is divide by 3 here. So 2x is going to be equal to, that divided by 3 is going to be 19. And that's what I was asked to find. I wasn't asked to find x, I was asked to find 2x. But if you found x, it would have been 9.5, no major drama, but I can't see why that wouldn't be more than acceptable. Right, so P1 for process of adding them all together, A1 for finding what they add together to be, P1 for attempting to solve, and then A1 for the answer. Right. Question 17, here is a regular hexagon and a regular pentagon. So hexagon 6, pentagon 5. Work out the size of the angle marked with the X. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to split it into the exterior angle of both shapes. So for the hexagon, the exterior angle is going to be equal to 360 divided by the number of sides. So the exterior angle would be 60. So which one's the six-sided shape? That one. So that was 60. And then for the pentagon, it's going to be 360 divided by the number of sides, which would be 5. And then 360 divided by 5 is going to be, well, 5 goes into 36. 7 times 72. So 72. So the total x is going to be equal to those added together. 60 plus 72. So that's going to be 132. And is that it for the page? It is. So, right, we have M1 for finding the exterior or interior angle of the hexagon. No, that's not right. The method, yeah, that's right. M1 for adding them together, and then A1 for the answer, 132. So there we go. There's my 3 marks. Right, question 19. Complete the table for x squared minus 3x plus 1. Okay, so I'm going to start with the positive values. So if I do so when x is equal to 2, then I'm going to have 2 squared minus 3 times 2 plus 1, which is going to be 4 minus 6 plus 1, which is going to give me minus 2 minus 1. Okay, I would expect that to be equal to 1 because it should match that, but we'll have a look when x is 3. I've got 3 squared, or y is equal to 3 squared minus 3 times 3 plus 1. So 9 plus 9, minus 9 plus 1, so that would be 1. Then I'm going to do when x is equal to 4, y is going to be equal to 4 squared minus 3 times 4 plus 1. So that's going to be 12. It's not, it's going to be 16 minus 12 plus 1. So that's going to be 4 plus 1. That should be 5. Right. And then hopefully that one will be 5 as well. We'll do it up here. When x is equal to minus 1, y would be equal to minus 1 squared minus 3 times by minus 1 plus 1, which is going to give me 1 plus 3 plus 1. So that would give me 5. There we go. Right. Draw this on a grid. So each one gives us a coordinate, minus 1, minus 1, 5, 0, 1, 1 minus 1, 2 minus 1, and then I can kind of match these points. Let's double check the last few, 4 and 5, 3, and there we go. So my next job is to join those with as smooth a curve as I can. So I'm going to spin my screen over just so my wrist's on the inside. You can't see that, but my wrist is now kind of up here. I'm trying to draw this, and I'm not great, particularly on a computer screen. And I've moved my wrist over to here, so my wrist is on the inside of the curve. That's not too bad. Been better. I could do it better free pencil, but that'll be more than acceptable. Right, use your graph to estimate the solution or the solution of the equation x squared minus 3x plus 1 is equal to 0. So is that the same equation? It is. So all we want is where it's equal to 0. That's the line where y is equal to 0. So I need to pick up this value and this value. And it looks like just lower than 0.5, just higher than 0.5. So I'm going to go 0.4 and 2.6. I would imagine we'll have a bound of error on that, but we'll find that out in a moment. Right. Okay. So that's the whole question. Right. So 2 marks for fully correct table. So 2 marks for fully correct table. It does say you can have 1 mark if you have 2 or 3 correct values. M1A1 for the graph. So plotting the points and then joining them with a smooth curve. Use it to find an estimate, and we're spot on. Accept answers in the range. Oh, okay, quite a big range. So it's saying that you could have accepted anything from 0.2 up to 0.6 and anything from 2.4 to 2.8. Right. Question 19 then. A car factory is going to make 4 different models, A, B, C, and D. 80 people were asked which of the 4 models they would be most likely to buy. The table shows information about their results, number of people, and then we've got the models. The factory is going to make 40,000 cars next year. Work out how many Model B cars the factory should make next year. So, assuming that these are assuming that this is what they're going to make, in effect, I'm going to do 15 over 80 times by 40,000. Okay, so I'm going to try and keep this nice and straightforward. So if I'm going to cancel by a factor of 10, then I'm going to cancel by a factor of 4. It goes twice and once. And then I'm going to cancel by a factor of 2. So I am expecting to go 15 times by 500. So that's going to be 5 times 7500. So I would expect them to make 7,500. I've done a lot of cancelling there. If you're not happy with the cancelling and you want to do the full multiplication, that's absolutely fine. We would have been doing 15 over 80 times by 40,000. Well, 15 times by 4 would give you 60. 1, 2, 3, 4. 60. 1, 2, 3, 4 divided by 80. Bam, bam. So then you're kind of be cancelling down. So if I cancel that, no, if I simplify by 4s, first of all, so 4 would go into 4 would go into this one. 4 goes into 60 15 times. 1, 2, 3, and that would be divided by 2. And then that divided by 2 would still give us 75. thousand. Would it? Yeah, it would. Yeah. Okay. Is that it for this page? Let's have a look. It is. So for question 19, we have got where am I? Go. Let me move the page for some reason. Right. M1 for the method, A1 for the answer, 2 marks. Okay, question 20, Rizwan writes down 3 numbers. Writes down 3 numbers, A, B, and C. A to B is 1 to 3, B to C is 6 to 5. Find the ratio of A to B to C. Right, so if I put the information into a ratio of A to B to C, so I've got 1 to 3, and then I've got 6 to 5. So the one in common we've got is B. Lowest common multiple of 3 and 6 is 6. To do that, I would need to double the first ratio, and the second ratio stays the same. So 2 to 6 to 5. Express A as a fraction of the total of the 3 parts. So A is 2. So we're looking at 2 out of the total number of parts is 11 is 13. So 2 out of 13. Emma writes down 3 numbers. M, N, and P. Find the ratio of M to P. Okay, right. Okay, so I'm gonna go M, N, P. If this is our equation, then that would actually mean the ratio of 2 to 1 for N to M. This would be the ratio of 5 to 1, and that would be P to N. So it's nasty way around. So right, so that would be 1 to 2. That would be that would be 5 to 1. So a common part is the middle part. So we're looking at 2 to 10 and to 1. So if we want M to P, are we going 1 to 10? Okay. And that's it for this page. Right, let's look for the marks then. Where do they come from? And have I got them? Right. M1 for the process of comparing ratios. So I've got an M1 and an A1. Although we said we weren't marking with the M's and A's codes today. And then for the second part, 2 out of 13, it is, they've awarded a method mark, but I didn't really use a method. Well, it's a method for finding the 13. For part B, okay, they've combined the equations, which is absolutely fine. I'll do that as a second method, actually. So I'll call that M1 and M2. If N is equal to 2M and 5, and P is equal to 5N, then if I want to cancel out my N's, then it's fair to say that P is equal to 10M. So the ratio would have been 10 to 1. No. So I've made a mistake. Right. And M. So the ratio of M to P would be 1 to 10. Yeah. Okay. So either way, there's my marks. Right. Question 21. Need to get these done fairly quickly. I'm behind my schedule. Right. So question 21. Solve. So to solve this, I'm going to move this first of all. So I'm going to say 5x over 2 is going to be greater than 15 times by 2. So 5x has to be greater than 30. Divided by 5x is greater than 6. Factorize then. So put it into brackets. To get an x squared, that must be an x and an x. And I'm looking at two numbers that multiply together to make 9 and that add together to make 10. So we've got to go 1 and 9, 1 and 9. So x plus 1 and x plus 9. X plus 1 and x plus 9. Right, simplify, giving your answer as a power of 2. Okay, so if we look at powers of 2 first of all, so 20. I'm not sure. Right, it's not your fault at all. I don't think that's correct. That should be that. So that's wrong on the exam paper, unfortunately. So no major drama. If I was simplifying that then, so I start by multiplying the powers. So that would become 2 to the power 3 squared, which would become 2 to the power 6. Right. And that's it for that page. So the mark scheme for 21. 21 is said we have got there we go, 3 marks. So okay, they've done it slightly differently. We'll go mark there, mark there, mark there. And then for the factorizing question, it is 2 marks. 2 marks having it in the right format. So, and for this one, M1 for simplifying the middle terms, and A1 for the answer. Right. Okay. Question 23 then. Here are 2 cubes, A and B. Cube A has a mass of 81, cube B has a mass of 128. Density of cube A, work out the ratio of the density of cube A to the density of cube B. Right, so for density, we need density is mass divided by volume. So currently we don't have the volume of either of the cuboids. It's not too bad to work out though. I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit though as I do this. So let me just look at 81. 81 is 9 times 9. So it is 3 to the power 4. 81 is, 128 is 2 times 64, which is, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4. I think it's to the power, let me just check, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. So I actually make it 5, 6, 7. Let me just double check that. So 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. Okay. So reason I'll explain in a minute why I've done it that way. But if I want to work out the density of cube A, then I'm going to treat it as mass. Density of cube A is going to be the mass, which is 3 to the power 4 divided by 3 squared. 3 cubed. That would be just 3. And then the density of cuboid B is going to be 2 to the power 7 divided by 2 squared cubed, 2 to the power 6. So that's going to be just 2. So the densities are going to be 3 to 2. I've done it that way to just keep the maths simple. I've used my knowledge of indices to save me actually having to work out anything further than that. So there we go, 3 to 2. And that's it for that page. So what does the mark scheme say? Will it have covered my method? It says the volume of cuboid B, which is 3 to the power 3. They have stated the value of it as well, but I'm going to award the method for 3 to the power 2 and 4 to the power 3, which I've said is 2 to the power 6, but that's fine. Density of cube 8, then mark there. Actually, I shouldn't have given myself 2 marks there. Mark there, and then mark there. Okay. And then question 24, and that's the last one. So let's look. Diagram shows 3 identical rectangles, A, B, and C. 4/8 of rectangle A is shaded, 9/11 of rectangle C is shaded. What fraction of rectangle B is shaded? Okay, so let's just set it out like this. So if that's 5 and 3, this one is 9 and 2. Right. I think I'm going to look at the area that's not shaded. Yeah. So if I look at the area that's not shaded, so if I say that the full amount of rectangle B is 1, and then I'm going to subtract the amount that's unshaded here, which is 3/8, and then minus 2/9, that should get me the area that's shaded. So I'm going to treat those, subtract those two, well, let's put them all over the same denominator. That's going to work quite nicely, actually. So I'm going to put them all over 88. So that would be 88 over 88. That would be 27 over 88. And that would be 16 over 88. So let's just work out what I'm taking away from 88. So 27 plus 16 is going to give me 43. So I make that 40. So I've got my denominator here wrong. I kind of, as I was doing it, I wrote the wrong thing. That was over 11, which is why the 88 comes up, but then that's 33. So 33 take away 16 is going to be 49. 49, and then that 88 take away 49 is going to be 39 over 88. There we go, 39 over 88. Right, what does the mark scheme say then? Let's have a look. M1 for giving the method to find the unshaded areas. So arguably M1 there. Method 1 for getting kind of this far. And then A1 for 39. There we go. And again, we're supposed to just do marks, not M's, P's, M's. So there we go. And that brings us to the end of the paper. Before we go, I just want to bring up the mark scheme last page, just because it's quite useful. Right. Okay, so last page of the mark scheme then is what I'm after. Feel free to go on. The mark scheme will be linked to the video, but we've got every question and we've got what topic it relates to. So if you particularly struggled with a topic and you want to spend a bit more time brushing up on that area, those are the areas which can be quite useful. Suggested grade boundaries. There's not a huge amount of. I don't think there's much. This is aiming for grade 5 paper, so you can look at those if you particularly want to. I'm not going to rest much on them. So those are the skills tested. If you found, for example, 16 particularly difficult, we've got what topic 16 was. You can spend a bit more time looking at revising that topic. But thank you very much for listening, and I feel free to comment on either the Teams channel or on the YouTube channel. Any questions or comments, and I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. And I will see you soon.